Our study was a questionnaire-based study. So that means that everything was done via an online survey, and we recruited our athletes. And by athlete, this was totally self-defined. There were no limitations on how long somebody was an athlete, what sport they're doing, their level of experience. We didn't care because we asked about all that. And so 1,161 people took our survey. The 3 primary sports were swimming, triathlon, and cycling. We had a big group of other, which were hikers and yogis and winter sport athletes. And we also had a huge range of ability. We had beginners all the way to professional athletes. So we had a really nice cross-section. Our age range went from 21 to 70 and over. So we had a really good age range. And our male-female breakdown was about 40-60. Which I would have liked to have had more females, but it does sort of reflect, if you look at the overall demographics of the sports, that you do have a male skew. So we were very happy to get a widespread demographic. In our study, we wanted to look at several things. We wanted to understand, how are athletes using cannabis? Do they primarily vape it, or do they eat it, or do they smoke it? We wanted to find out how long have they been using it, and how often do they use it? And then what are the good things that happened and what are the adverse things that happened? So of the 301 athletes who said that they used cannabis in the last 2 weeks, which was 26% of our entire sample, we had a pretty good split of people using it for more than 3 years and less than 3 years. And some people are using it several times a day, and some people are only using it once a week. So the frequency was very variable. We didn't find any differences in patterns of use between males and females, but we did find differences in patterns of use between our older athletes and our younger athletes. Our younger athletes were more often smoking and vaping it, whereas our older athletes were more often using topicals and oral administration of it. Our younger athletes also used edibles more often than our older athletes. One of the things that we measured in our study were the benefits and adverse effects of cannabis. In terms of the benefits, over 60% of the athletes indicated that it decreased their pain, improved their sleep, and decreased their anxiety. Some other benefits that were seen less often were calm and decreased muscle spasms. And very few, I think only about 13%, actually indicated that cannabis improves their performance, which was surprising to me. In terms of the adverse effects, we saw things like decreased concentration, increased appetite, and anxiety, but these were at a much lower rate than our benefits. We also asked about specific pain, for example, for muscle pain or joint pain or migraines or neuropathic pain. Cannabis was most helpful for muscle pain. Over 80% said that it helped with that. Second on the list was joint pain, then migraine, and then neuropathy. But all of them, over 70% said that it moderately or very much helped with that pain. Those are pretty interesting numbers. One of the studies that we're very interested in doing, sort of in response to this one, is a study specifically looking at cannabis use in older adults. We feel that this is a very important population to study because right now, older adults are the strongest group that are initiating cannabis use. And there could be some issues. There could be drug interactions with other medications that are being taken, but there also could be great improvements to things like pain and anxiety, and maybe even decreasing some of the medications that older adults are on. We just don't know. And so that's something we're very interested in looking at. Some preliminary data from our athlete study in the older adults are quite interesting. I'm going to share those with you, and I'm going to look at these numbers here so they're pretty accurate. So in terms of whether older adults prefer to use CBD, which is the non-psychoactive cannabinoid, or THC, which is the one that is psychoactive, older adults prefer CBD. So in our 50 to 59 age group, 46% said they use CBD only, and that number jumps all the way to 55% in 60 and over. So there really are big age trends. And we look at athletes who are only using THC in those age groups. Both of them, about 15% are using it. So they really prefer not to use THC. When you look at, does it help for pain? 65% in both of those groups said it helped with pain. That is a staggering number. And if that relates to actually getting off some more harmful medications, things like opioids, that would be very beneficial, and that's something we want to learn. And then helping with sleep, because insomnia, I know, is a huge problem for older adults. In our athletes in that 50 to 59 age range, 57% said it helped with sleep, and about 60% in the older 60 and over. Again, these are really interesting numbers. The most endorsed adverse effect, was anxiety. And about 11% in the 50 to 59 age group said that they had anxiety from cannabis, and 2.5% in that older group said that they had anxiety. And again, that could be because of that CBD THC ratio, whereas the 60 and over are primarily using CBD, which a lot of studies actually show decreases anxiety. You may be wondering, why should I use both THC and CBD? Because our study showed that co-use of CBD and THC had much more benefit than using either one by itself, and other studies have shown this as well. Well, there's something called the entourage effect, and that is when you use all the cannabinoids simultaneously, you get the best effect. There seems to be some kind of synergistic relationship where they just work together for more improvement. But does that mean that you need lots of THC and very little bit of CBD, or do you need just a tiny bit of THC and lots of CBD? We don't really know. Unfortunately, there aren't any large clinical trials that have looked at this, and it's very difficult to get to these nuances in questionnaire-based studies because people don't have a great understanding of what it is that they're taking due to a variety of factors. It could be the route of administration. It could be that the labeling isn't good, or it could be that people just don't pay attention, or they could be using something that somebody else got and they don't know what it is. So it's very hard right now to really hone in on what that ratio should be. Now, there have been studies with a pharmaceutical that's been approved in other countries called Sativex, which is a spray that goes underneath your tongue. And that's a 1-to-1 ratio of CBD to THC, which means that there are equal parts of CBD and THC. And it's been used for a variety of conditions like spasticity and multiple sclerosis. Does that mean it's going to work for you? I don't know, because at a 1-to-1 ratio, you still might feel the psychoactive effects of THC. Because what happens is, when you take THC and CBD together, the CBD tones down that psychoactive effect of THC. So some people, that 1-to-1 ratio is enough so that they don't get high. And for others, it's like there isn't even CBD there. And so there are formulations that are 30-to-1 of CBD to THC, meaning that there are 30 parts CBD, 1 part THC, which would be very uncommon to be psychoactive, but very sensitive people still might feel that. And then there are all ratios in between. You can get a 2-to-1, a 3-to-1, a 10-to-1. How do you know? Well, you're going to have to be a little bit of an experiment, N equals 1, and maybe try some things. Again, you want to start low, go slow. So my recommendation, speak to a medical professional so that you can tell them what medications you're on, what your conditions are that you're taking it for, so that you can talk to them about potential drug interactions. And then you want to find products that have a very high ratio of CBD to begin with. Take a very, very tiny dose and work your way up slowly. Keep a journal so that you know how you're doing and whether or not it's actually helping your condition. And you can sort of make changes on the fly. I've been using medical cannabis for 5 years now to treat my condition of chronic pain and spasticity and pain-induced insomnia. And my regimen has changed greatly over the years. As products get better, as my condition changes, I have to try new things to see what's going to work best.